these texts that have existed for centuries, they talk about night sweats.
Yeah.
They talk about insomnia or trouble with sleeping. They talk about mood swings.
Yeah.
Ancient medicine understands hormones, menopause, perimenopause. In Eastern medicine, the kidneys literally are in charge of, rule. I actually love these words that they use. Our essence, our reproductive organs and system.
I think that these older systems of medicine are so valuable, so powerful.
Beyond. Everything is rooted.
Know more sometimes. And if you can merge them with data and technology, you have magic at your fingertips.
Welcome to Whole Plus, the podcast that embraces and tackles the holistic way, bringing it all together: science, research, innovations in technology, and our collective human experience. This is where science and spirit come together. I'm Dr. Taz, your host and a double board certified medical doctor, an integrative health expert, a nutritionist, and an acupuncturist. I'm also the founder and CEO of Whole Plus, a digital and clinical platform where my team and I practice evidence-based holistic medicine every single day. I know and I hear all the health and wellness noise that's out there. I want this show to be the one to empower you with the knowledge you need to heal not just your body, but your relationships, your communities, and our world. Welcome to Whole Plus.
A big part of my mission and passion with Whole Plus is to merge different systems of medicine together. That's why I am so excited about my next guest, Dr. Jenelle Kim. I brought her on so that we could all learn more about traditional oriental medicine, what it means for us, what is a constitution, what is essence, and how do we apply that in our Western medical model. Dr. Jenelle is a 9th generation doctor of traditional oriental medicine, a practitioner of the Qigong movement and moving meditation, a board director for meditation organization, and a teacher of the 8 keys of living meditation. She is prolifically and internationally cited wellness expert who has been featured in Forbes, Allure, Meditation Magazine, Time, and Good Morning America. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jenelle to the show. Dr. Jenelle, I am thrilled to have you on the show. We have collaborated in the past. I am a fan for multiple reasons, but probably maybe the biggest one, other than the fact that you're amazing and fabulous, is just your rooting in traditional Chinese medicine and traditional Oriental medicine. And I know that you come at everything, whether we're talking products, lifestyle, wellness, balance, any of those questions, you're coming at it with that perspective. I want my viewers and listeners to know your background. Can you share with us your lineage and your history and all of that good stuff?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me and for the beautiful introduction, Dr. Taz. I know we have known each other for quite some time, and that's really special.
Yes.
In fact, right before we began, we had a moment where we are completely on the same page.
Yes, we are.
And that's a beautiful thing. So yes, very grateful for all that you do and that we connect in this way. To begin, I am 9th generation in my lineage as a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine, Eastern medicine, rooted in Chinese medicine, but my lineage comes from Korea, right? And so that's the detail of it.
But I don't want you to skim over that because, again, our audience may not realize that, but traditional Western medicine, we go study the books, we take tests, we pass boards, we get licenses, we operate, right?
Yes.
In Chinese medicine and Korean medicine and Korean acupuncture, these things have been handed down generation to generation to generation. Talk a little bit about that process of handing down, how that looks, how that works, and what is captured in the handing down versus the studying of a textbook.
I really appreciate that. So what I don't always acknowledge, but now that you put it that way, is we also go to school for a very long time. I started 20, maybe 5 years ago now is when I went to school. And so you go through your undergrad, you have your master's program, which is about 4 some years. Then you go to your doctorate, which is about 4 some years. Things shift and change. So all of that is very important. But I really appreciate how you are, kind of asking this question to me. Because I absolutely agree that for me, the most important thing is, as I said, my lineage and how that's been handed down for thousands of years, right? So centuries, I'm 9th generation, but the reality is, it goes back so much further. I mean, Eastern medicine can be rooted, I love saying this no matter what event or wherever I am, 10,000 years.
Yes.
And we say that out loud, but if we stop, which is one of my favorite things, to pause and think through anything that we're thinking or saying in this way, 10,000 years ago.
Can you imagine that amount of
Yes.
think about how much information we have garnered over the last decade.
Yes.
You think about 10,000 years worth of patient experiences, treating, all of these things. I can't imagine someone needs to get in your brain and pull
Absolutely.
everything
And you said it
out. So,
correctly.
you
That is
know,
something that to this day, one of the things that maybe the Western modern world is not as versed in, and understandably so, is it really does have that feel, the East Asian kind of almost secretive, but it is that way. It's been passed down through oral tradition. I mean, 10,000 years ago, however many thousand, they did not have books.
Right.
They didn't
Right.
write things down this way. No, it truly was passed on. And actually, one of my favorite ways that my greatest teacher, my father, who's no longer with us, he said it the best. And I say it all the time. It exists because why? Because it works, period. End of story. It's
Right.
effective.
Right.
And for any good doctor, practitioner, expert, that I believe that's what should be the most important. It's
Totally.
effective.
I was shocked recently, not shocked, but
Yes.
for a long time, I do holistic medicine. I'm traditionally trained
Yes.
MD, but I
Know that.
also have studied Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, but the practice is a holistic medicine practice, and we
Yes.
combine things all the time.
Yes.
So I've been labeled a quack in the
Yes, of
past,
course. 20
right?
years ago,
20 years
we
ago, I
were,
was a quack. And
so was I.
and it's interesting
Perfect.
because I, for the first time in 20 years, went and looked up the definition of evidence-based.
Yes.
And within the definition
Mm,
includes clinical and patient
of
experience.
course.
And that's skimmed over when all the doctors start pointing fingers at each other
Yes.
and they're like, well, there's no, double-blinded research control trial on this, so it
Right.
can't be real.
Yes.
So I think that these older systems of medicine are so valuable, so
Oh,
powerful,
beyond.
no
Everything's rooted.
more
Right.
sometimes.
Mhm.
And, if you can merge them with data and technology, you have magic at
Yes.
your fingertips.
That's the
But
perfect way
anyhow,
of saying it.
so
No,
he
please.
hands down the information to you. Did you learn
Yes.
from him? Kind of.
Yes. I mean, I have other amazing teachers, but he was my greatest teacher,
Right.
and that came, it's funny because oftentimes people will say family lineage.
Right.
And I actually have to correct them because it's not just family. My father, as you will see in the book that I wrote however many years ago, with Penguin Random House and Watkins, my amazing publishers, I will tell stories, and that is part of the 3 pillars of medicine. So I do want to just acknowledge this before I
Yeah.
dive in,
Let's do
right?
it. Yeah.
Because what he handed down to me, and so finishing that thought, it was his master, his teacher, as you see in the book. He learned in the mountains of East Asia, starting at the age of 7. So it's like from a movie, and this is my own father.
Wow.
And so for how many decades of my life, I would never even share this because
Yeah.
how do you share such a thing? But now is
Right.
the time, right? And so his teacher was not family, right? And most likely that his master's master was not family, but that's our lineage. That's why I'm specific to lineage.
Got
And
it.
my grandfather was Jimbo Kim. That's JBK Wellness Labs. That's my contract manufacturing lab.
Yes.
Right. So family is involved as well. So I just think that's important.
Yeah.
And another intention why I love to share that more recently than ever is that, we all come from lineage, and how do you connect in that way? That's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
But that's a
very
beautiful
much.
one. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to start a community soon where to teach all of these things that I'm going to touch on in a second. But really, it's almost as if I'm inviting you to join my lineage, to be rooted in
So the
that.
concept of lineage is not necessarily just a family lineage, but it's the community.
Yes, absolutely. And then there are certain of us, going back to your question,
Yeah.
who are chosen, but we have to make the choice as well. Right. So when I was little, the 3 pillars that I will share in just a moment.
Can't wait
here.
to hear about these 3
I
pillars.
know, I'm really setting this up.
I'm waiting. I know.
Oh my gosh. But I don't want to forget to answer you.
Yeah.
The 3 pillars, I was not expected to do this per se from the
Right.
moment I was born. I say now at 43, I know I was born to do this. I always did, but it was never pushed on me. And I think that's a really beautiful lesson in parenting, especially that I teach my boys this way as well. Of course, I was surrounded by it. But at the end of the day, if I did not choose, which is the basis of everything, health, wellness, mental, physical, spiritual, if I did not make a choice, it does not mean that necessarily it would have been handed over to me as part of the lineage. So that is actually how it works.
Wow.
So the 3 pillars, because that will lead the
Here we
entire
go.
conversation, are the 3 M's, which is medicine, right? As I described, it is food is the best medicine. I know we both very
Right.
much resonate.
Right.
Everyone should. It is my lab. It is the beautiful, clean skincare, which, by the way, when I started, there was no such thing as clean beauty
Yeah.
or even natural. But the skincare we put onto our body, the supplements we take, how we eat, that type of medicine, right? The second pillar is movement. So what I teach in particular, and what's been handed down to me as well, that's why I want to answer this way, is Qigong, right? So many people don't know what Qigong is,
Right.
which I have to say,
Right.
I always keep my mind open, but I'm constantly shocked. But they know Tai Chi,
Right. Why do
okay?
you think they don't know the difference?
Well, it's a very interesting, maybe Tai Chi has just been I don't know, to be
Yeah.
honest, Dr. Taz, because to
Yeah.
me they're and the truth is they're hand in hand, but it's like this comes from this, but this doesn't. Tai
Right.
Chi is Qigong.
Right.
Qigong is Qi, vital energy.
Mm-hmm.
Gong is the consistent study of cultivating that Qi.
Mm.
And so the way I love to explain it very quickly, no matter where I'm teaching or
Right.
educating, is that Qigong is truly the first ever form of breath work. Qi is breath, right? Qi is your life,
Mm-hmm.
vitality. It is the very first form of any kind of exercise or movement as we know it, if we remember that this started 10,000 some years ago, right? And so
Right.
movement
Absolutely.
is medicine. So that's why I say the 3 pillars of medicine. The third pillar is mindset, how we think. Okay, and so we can certainly go into any one of these pillars,
Right.
but my mission, my duty, I know at this point in time as my life here is to do my very best to share this, make it relatable, make it effective to the
Right.
best of my ability to people who do not look at it that way, right?
So is that so
Or
right now?
understand that it exists.
Exactly. And so
Mhm.
I love that you have these 3 pillars. It's funny, again, parallels,
Of
but I
course.
think in triangles all the
Yes.
time.
Love it.
And when we're seeing patients, I'm always like, okay, there are 3 core things, there are 3 hits, there are 3
Yes.
main ideas. I'm always telling people that. And if I don't tell them, I'm thinking it, and they're triangles like
Same.
running around in my head. So I love that. Movement, mindset, medicine are the
Yes.
3 pillars. How does that philosophy equate or negate from the wellness movement that we're seeing today?
Oh, it very much equates. The way I have been trained for lifetimes, probably,
Yeah.
not probably, I know this, is that it all comes from the same root, right? It all comes, and one way I will say it is, I have come to now start to share that I'm Taoist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
all Taoist, the medicine aspect, the movement aspect, the mindset. So how we take care of our body, mind, and spirit, right? And Taoist is, we might think like, oh, what is that? I don't even want to say any words to create a stigma. It
Yeah.
means the universe. The Tao is the universe,
Right.
so it applies to everyone. That's what I feel is so beautiful and what has always resonated to me, which is where 20 years ago when people did think, wow, she must be an alien,
Right.
talking about Eastern
Totally.
medicine. And
Right. Yeah.
even in the beauty industry, Korean beauty, people
Was
thought I was
not a
crazy,
thing. Yeah.
or
Now it's the
meditation, I came from
rage.
another planet,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it applies to everyone.
Yeah.
We live in this universe. We're all human. 10,000 years ago, there were human beings. Hopefully, 10,000 years from now, there will still be human beings. So what does it all come down to? The universe, the Tao, and Yin and Yang. So that's the foundation of all 3 M's and 3 pillars, right? And so your question in particular, what did you?
So when people are saying, they're on a wellness journey
Right. Does it equate?
or they're chasing balance,
Mm-hmm.
like how does that, sort of apply to this Taoist theory or,
Mm-hmm.
the yin yang theory, those type of things?
Okay. I wanted to make sure I
And
was.
what are we getting right and what are we getting wrong?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll keep going with what I was saying. I wanted to make sure. So everything, all 3 of those pillars, every part of us, okay, comes from that balance of yin and yang. And when we understand that, it applies to literally, there's yin and there's yang. And when we think of that symbol, right, oftentimes we'll say it's like a fish. So
Mm-hmm.
one side is black, but inside that black area is a little white dot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And their white area, and inside the white area is a little black dot. And so it can look like a fish. And they represent that things are always changing, but they also represent in that symbol, because it starts as a circle, right? And so that circle, that they're always changing, but always connected.
Mm.
Okay. So then let's take that a step further, that yin and yang, right? Yin is feminine,
Right.
female.
Right.
Yin is nourishment. Yin is more quiet. Yin is darkness, like literally
Mm-hmm.
dark. Yang is masculine. Yang is loud. Yang is movement. Yang is hot. Yin is cold. And so when you start to understand that everything in life, I find so much comfort in this. And that's why I even say it in this way, because I wish for people to know, it gives a sense of security as human beings, that no matter what we walk through in life, when we look at our human body in Eastern medicine or in many of the ancient medicines, it can come down to the same principle. In our body, yin is substance. It's literally our organs. Yang is qi. It's the vital energy. In some way, you can think of it as if we have blood in our body, qi in many ways like moves the blood, right? And so
Right.
we, in
Right.
modern medicine,
So
we
it's
talk
like
about
raw
it a little bit different.
materials versus
100%.
building.
Yes.
Can't build without raw materials.
They
Gotta
cannot
have the
exist
yin
without each other.
to have the yang.
Yes.
And vice versa.
And they're always changing. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying I wish for people to really embody this, because when you know that, let's step out of how it works in the body for a moment. It's the way that we interact with each other. There's times to be hard, there's times to be soft. Life, you can't understand success unless you know failure. You'll never understand joy and happiness without sadness. It literally applies to everything, from our body to our relationships, our intimate relationships, to our friendships, parenting, literally every aspect. That's why all three pillars.
Wow.
The movement that I teach, which, by the way, something I didn't say before, however, thousands of years, for generations, they would prescribe movement no different than if you came and I prescribed medicine to you. Medicine that way that we think, herbal, supplements, whatever that might be, movement. And in my humble experience and what the ancient teachers taught, it can be one of the most effective and one of the quickest ways to quickly rebalance ourselves in the way that I'm saying. So, for example, the techniques that have been passed down, the specific secret techniques, no different than the formulas and the understanding of certain herbs and how they relate to each other, because that's true herbal medicine.
Interesting.
Right? That's what's been passed down. So why is that so renowned and respected is the word I'm looking for. Why have they kept that so sacred? Another perfect word. Why is it now time to share this with the world? Because we all need it. Even those techniques, when we do them with proper breath, right, we start to reset our whole body, balance the yin and yang of our body. When you look at hormones, that's how we understand. Ancient medicine understands hormones. Menopause, perimenopause, men and women both have hormones. It all exists. But they look at it in terms of the yin and yang. Look at it in terms of the organ systems and how we constantly balance energy. In these texts that have existed for centuries, they talk about night sweats. They talk about insomnia or trouble with sleeping. They talk about mood swings. Far before anything that has been written in books. It's just another way of understanding it.
So how would they have explained perimenopause or menopause? And how would they have explained what we're seeing today with the explosion of infertility, PCOS, and endometriosis?
Yes, so that's a much longer conversation, which we can certainly dive into. But going back, I find it actually is very comforting for people to understand this. And also I have not said it yet, but I'm a proponent of both. I believe that as I started, everything has to do, we have to look inside of ourselves, educate ourselves to the best of our ability, become aware of ourselves. That's the hardest, but the most important. Find teachers, doctors, experts who can guide us, right? And so why I say that is that it really comes down to no one can know how you're feeling except for yourself. And how many people really even know at this day and age what they're feeling, what needs to be paid at the core, right? And so when we start to understand that we have that power to empower ourselves, then we understand that. So going to what we were just talking about. So when it comes to yin and yang, that's how we understand hormones, right? And so there's certain times in our life, whether it's our constitution, which means that's how we were born. Some of us by nature have, every one of us has a specific constitution. There's much more detail that's involved in this. But by understanding that, even the littlest bit, you can tell, even just being aware, some of us can have a lot of like hot nature foods, right? Or coffee. Literally, I just talked to a journalist about coffee and how it can be balanced and how it can be hurt. Okay, so that's a great example. So by nature, caffeine can, it disperses our chi, it gives us energy. For some people, it's perfectly fine to have a cup a day, a coffee a day. And for some people, to be honest, you can have a couple and it's okay for your constitution. It's a very interesting thing, right? But for those of us, some of us, we can have that coffee. And it's not necessarily the caffeine aspect, but the nature of that. And it can make our stomach have indigestion. It can be burning. It's heat. So that's one example. But by constitution, we might run hot, right? So the funny thing is, anyone who walks in front of me, and it's not some conscious thing, I know we all do this. If truly, I mean, I was probably 6 years old. My father started teaching me how to look at people, right? And it's not a judgment thing, like, oh God, I don't know, but it's just by nature. You walk in front of me, your build, the color of your skin, and I'm just talking like your vitality, your chi, right? Your personality, your character, all of that fits into your constitution.
So what's my constitution?
You're pretty balanced, Dr. Taz.
I am? I'm amazed.
Yes,
okay,
absolutely. Not pretty. You are.
I thought
say
it was
that
like
because,
very young, so.
Well, we both can be.
Right.
Very young, right? Like men are from Mars, women are from Venus. My husband for 20 years has told me when we first met, like, I think you're from Mars. So there's a part of me that is a lot more young and a part of me that is more sharp. And yes.
Same.
But okay, literally we're saying right now, but we know this of ourselves.
Yeah.
So let me be the first to say, when it comes to my workouts right now, at this point in my life, when I was 20, we'd go to medical school. I would wake up at 5 a.m. to train for a marathon. Go to
Same.
school, go to clinic, like
Same.
barely even eat lunch, which by the way is a
Same.
huge no-no in my life at this
Yeah.
point. That
Yeah.
is like there's
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah.
Go back to school, go back to clinic, go to another college for another class, like go to the gym. I mean, but because we have that energy,
Yeah.
going back to what we're saying,
Yeah.
we are, by nature, our constitution, we have a lot of energy.
Right.
Okay. So at this point in my life, I also know that we're all born with, in Eastern medicine, ancient medicine, because other forms of ancient medicine might say it differently,
Right.
but what modern medicine as well. I love the way to understand this, though, that we're all born with a certain amount of essence. There's many different chis, vital energies, so I'm not going to confuse everyone.
Right.
But this must be the theme of the day, because literally I talked to a journalist about this today, and I haven't in a while. So we're all born with a certain amount of chi or essence.
Right.
That's it. And it's very, very difficult, if at all possible, to ever supplement that. So that's kind of the understanding that you have this much, and on the day that doesn't exist, you don't exist anymore, right? That's oftentimes one kind of extreme way, but it gets the point across way of understanding this is it's when you see a person who does everything correctly that we see. They eat beautifully, they either don't drink or their drinking is very balanced, and everything in moderation. Did I already say like work out? They're thinking they're just everything
They're
is
on point.
what we would on point is
Right.
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And then one day they walk outside and go for a run and, they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
And they're 30. And you're like, what just happened? On one way there can be many different things, but Eastern medicine, for the most part, would say that's how much essence they were born in this life with. Or you see on the flip side, someone who does everything incorrectly,
And
right?
they're fine.
Yes, and they live until like 100. You're like,
right.
what is happening?
Right.
Now, in general, that's
Uh-huh.
not the case.
Right.
All
Those
the
are
things, I am
extreme
a
examples, right.
Taoist longevity
Right.
expert. Like, that's
Yeah.
what I do
Yeah.
and believe in that. But to some extent, I like having us understand that, because that's not something that modern medicine talks about in that way.
But one of the things that, and
Yes.
I believe in all of these things, as you
I
know,
know.
but one of the things that I find in the wellness journey and
Yes.
in sort of the chase, so to speak, is that people don't honor their
This
constitution
is exactly.
and they don't honor their capacity.
Yes.
Right. So they hop on the latest trend, they hop on the latest, like whatever's fed to them on
Yes.
whatever
Oh,
algorithm, and they assume it's right for
can be
them.
very dangerous, actually.
Correct. And
Mhm.
so this idea of constitution and capacity is in many ways, I think, should be the founding principle around which you start to build a healing
Absolutely.
journey.
That is longevity.
Correct. And so we spend a lot of time, without trying to confuse people, but
Yes.
helping them understand sort of what that constitution might be.
Yes.
I think it's the answer. People always look at me, they're like, I don't get it. I don't understand how you're doing this and this and this. It's who I am.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Does that mean that you are less than because you cannot do these things? No, you are somebody different.
Yes.
This is who I am.
Yes.
And I think it's the honoring of your constitution that takes away a lot of the like noise and negative self-talk and
Beyond.
comparison
Yes.
and all these
And
different
also,
things.
furthermore, even within each one of us,
Yeah.
and that's what I will finish that. For example, when I was
Yeah.
20, I was very young,
Yeah.
so much energy
Yeah.
expended. And
Yeah.
guess what? I was never tired. I didn't
Yeah.
have to sleep.
Yep.
I mean, the
Same.
whole thing.
Same.
However, practicing what I preach, because it is so important to me for all the reasons. Now, at this point in my life, at 43, it does not, I've never been afraid of getting older.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
turning 50, because I've heard my girlfriend and I will talk about this, will be a moment
Right.
like, oh, 50,
Okay.
that's an interesting.
Yeah.
But that's just not something,
That you worry about or
no, it really
think
isn't.
about. Yeah.
Right? However, I am very aware, and I'm so grateful for this awareness, that I know, for example, when it comes to working out, because I can feel too. Because I am a working mom, own all these businesses, do all
Mhm.
that, involved in, I mean, all the things, right?
Right.
I don't have to say.
Right.
I also know that I do have so much chi. And while I know that I have a lot that I can keep expending, is a perfect word, even when it comes to my workouts. I practice my martial arts and I love my Pilates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do so much cardio because by nature, and I'm giving myself as an example, by nature, I already know that if I do that, I will expend more chi than I
More.
should be doing.
Yeah.
Because on a daily basis, I am utilizing so much chi.
Yeah.
Right? And that is a very good way, and I train myself, mindset, that pillar, right, to do these things. That's actually all three pillars, but because I know that that is truly how I can achieve longevity.
Do you think that's what we're missing in the wellness world and in
I believe we're getting there. I believe people are understanding this more. and when to do, when not to do.
Yeah.
Are there times that, I feel like going and doing
Yeah.
a lot of cardio? Not really, that's the
Yeah.
truth. But if I did, not at this
Today's the
point,
day. Maybe not.
then it would be fine. I'd pay attention to my
Right.
body. That's what I'm
Right.
going to. A lot of these practices, what keeps coming to mind right now, it's harder to put in words, but so many of these practices, while they help to rebalance ourselves, reset, to bring in more
Right.
vitality and chi,
Right.
oftentimes, especially as the Taoist in me, the practices that the tools, all the medicines that I practice and I teach, I preach, actually help us to clear a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
so that we can feel more,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense, right? That's
Totally.
a thing that
Yeah.
I'm really wishing to share properly. I will often say lately, I am not here to give you anything. I'm actually here to take things away. And it's a very interesting. I heard myself say it one time when I was in a big event, because oftentimes the way I do it at this point, I have a lot of
Right.
things down, is,
Right.
just open yourself and connect. I
Yeah.
connect with the people I'm in front of, and whatever naturally should come comes. And I heard myself say that, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, that's very Taoist of me. But the truth is, I'm making kind of a humor in it, but that is so correct. I see that at this moment in time, our modern world, literally where we're living, particularly in US, I can't speak to, I travel a lot, but I don't live in all these places, but there is just there's not almost, there's an overwhelm
Mm-hmm.
of all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I am one of the most grateful for this, because as we just said, 20 years ago, I talked about any of this.
People
And
were
we were
like,
like, I wish we knew each other, because
I
we were like on an
know.
island. Well, we do now. It
I
wasn't meant to
know.
be. We had to
I
follow, we
know.
had to find
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
walk this
Yeah.
journey. But, so on one hand, it's amazing. It's opened, particularly after, the last however many years, I don't even like saying it,
Right.
COVID and the pandemic
Right.
and all the things. But it really helped people open their eyes.
Yeah.
But now that's, again, let's look at the balance again.
Right.
It went from nothing to extreme.
Extreme.
And I have
Right.
a feeling it's going to get even more extreme. And it's okay. Because as long as certain of us start to share and teach, just be aware, always find balance. Who are you listening to? Where did this information come from? In East Asia, in Asia in general, and a lot of the ancient cultures, definitely ancient medicine, movement, martial artists, traditional martial artists, you always look for the teacher.
Yeah.
And that's something I really want to, I'm coming out a lot more saying this lately, with much respect. Doesn't mean be closed-minded, don't listen.
Right.
But it is very important for us as a formulator and manufacturer. My brands, my clients who put out beautiful formulas, we work with people who care, whether it's supplements or beauty care, hair care, whatever it might be. Basically, they know, or how can I say it? Like, they're carried in Credo, Sephora, Norse. So so often people ask me, how do you know what the proper, how do you know what product to pick?
Right.
Well, I know what I see, and we work with many different people, but when you look into a company, you can feel, you can tell who are the founders, what were important, where does it link, what, you might not know the lab, because usually
Right.
you won't know I'm there, but
Right.
at this point, you probably will know my stamp on things, because you'll
Right.
see that.
Right.
But who cares about that? That is not my concern. But
Right.
it is know who you're getting your information from. Where did they get this from? And I'm talking not just beauty and wellness, even some of the, I don't want to say spiritual, but for lack of a better word, whether it's a sound
Self-help.
bath, whether it's,
Yeah.
any of your movement, it's very important.
It's so hard for people, I think. And that sense of overwhelm I see,
Me too.
in our clinics, and even when I speak and write and stuff like that, I hear that from people all the time. Like, do I cold plunge or do I do sauna? Do I do cryo, or do I do, there's a lot of like, what do I do and where do I begin and how do I
Yes.
begin? And I think, one of the things that I keep reminding everybody is like, we start with you and we
Yes.
start with who you are.
Yes.
And whether we want to use a word like constitution or
Right.
meridian or
Yes.
dosha or whatever
Totally.
word we want to use, we have to find a way of measuring your energy, quantifying your energy, getting a sense of your energy to where at some point it becomes very intuitive for you.
Yes. Beautifully
Example,
put.
I woke up this morning. I took time to meditate and read. I probably needed to lift weights,
Okay.
but I didn't feel like it.
Yes.
And intuitively, my body was like, no, that's not what you need
Yes.
to do today. You have a lot going on. You're
Yes.
going to get on a plane, all these other things. So I didn't do it. Do I
Right.
feel guilty about it? Do I feel bad about it? No, because I kind of know. Now, for someone starting out on this journey, here's what, the fun part is bringing all this stuff together. So here's what's been fun. Like, I've been asking patients to look at their HRV,
Yes.
heart rate variability, to look
Right.
at their heart rate,
Yes.
their respiratory rate, blood
Absolutely.
pressure, as a way of discerning their constitution in the given moment.
I love it.
So the lower your HRV is, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're down in the teens and the 20s,
Right?
then you're in a higher cortisol state. You're in a depletion state, right?
Yes.
Is sort of what we would call it. Maybe not the day to do the marathon
Yes.
or the heavy weights or those type of things. You
Mm.
have to honor the body. So
Yes.
that's a way of taking this idea of chi and
Yes.
constitution and applying it to a very tactical modern
Yes.
day scenario. Are there other examples of that that maybe I'm not dialing into
Yes.
that somebody would benefit from?
Well, first of all, I love that you said it that way, and that is we touched on it, but that is a beautiful way of seeing how modern, Western, Eastern, ancient come
Come
together, right?
together,
And
right?
so
Which I
that's
love.
where I
Yeah.
said, I
Yeah.
think that now there is integration. Thank
Right.
goodness we're doing it, Dr. Taz, with
Yes.
all of
Yes.
the
Yes.
other
Yes.
people who
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. But yes, back in the day, people would assume that I would be like, oh, Western medicine, modern. And I'd shock people all the time. I
Yeah.
do not feel that way,
Yeah.
actually, at
Yeah.
all.
Me either.
How
Yeah.
grateful I am that in this day and age, we have diagnostic
Right.
methods. We can track these types of things that can help us see our body very clearly.
Yeah.
When we have information, that's amazing.
Right.
Now what do you do for treatment? What do you do with that information? That's where we have to educate ourselves in what to do,
Very much.
including, as you just said, I love the word intuitively. And also, you also mentioned, I'm also, how can I say, like, I love communicating. Don't get caught up in these words. If it doesn't resonate with you or it makes sense a different way, but it's the same principle, that is fine with me.
Yeah.
I hear you say that too.
Yeah.
Meaning, if chi is not a way you understand something, then that's fine. How do you feel? Like, I'm all
Where are
about
you
stop making
today?
everything so
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
Like, I just look around, everyone makes everything so hard.
So hard. And then
I
they,
don't get it.
again, paralysis because then you don't know what to do.
Yes, I
Okay.
do
I've
get
got to
it.
ask
I'm
you some
joking, but
questions. Is
yes.
PCOS and endometriosis,
Mm.
are they yang excess states? Too much fire, too much energy?
Okay, see, that's where it can get a lot more detailed. Yes, it very much can be that way, but remember, excess can come from deficiency in Eastern medicine.
Right.
I know you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
This is where I don't like to ever
Right.
want to confuse people. That's where, let's root it back for a moment. We have to constantly train ourselves. As much as I have done this my whole life, you have done this for possibly your whole life as well. I don't know
Right.
how far back
Yeah,
it
yeah,
goes,
20
but
years.
so
Yeah.
we are used to checking in with ourselves this way, right? But you have to keep checking in and using our diagnostic information, going to our doctors. I can't stop saying that, because any kind of excess, right? Especially, in the conditions that we're speaking of right now, by nature, when you look at it, that is what presents. But oftentimes, especially in this culture,
It's
I see
rooted
that it's
in,
actually rooted in a deficiency, which is exactly what we're talking about. Meaning
yeah.
we're lacking our nourishment. And actually, I like that I just said that word not
Yeah.
on accident, because that's a word that really resonates for me. I constantly say to myself, this is nourishing for myself, because that's how I train and remind my own self, and particularly strong women, right? It's hard for me to say, I'm going to go relax. That does not resonate.
No. Yeah.
That's just the truth. At this point, I'm not even going to apologize about it. Like, oh, I'm going to go
Right.
relax. No, I'm
Right.
not. No.
Yeah.
However,
I'm
if
going to go
I say,
nourish.
yes, if I say to myself, you're
I
going to
like
go
that.
nourish
Yeah.
yourself, Janelle. That's a
Mhm.
very Eastern medicine word, right? Nourishing our condition, nourishing our digestive system. Hormones, one very foundational way of understanding how Eastern medicine looks at hormones, because we don't say it as like the individual chemicals, but as I said before, are the yin and yang, right? Energies in the organ systems,
Right.
is the way we look at it as like the kidneys. By nature, we recognize that it does a lot of the. So when I say these organ systems, I'm always careful to say they do the same functions. We recognize a lot of the same functions, modern medicine, Western, Eastern, ancient, but there's also other ways of understanding it. So in Eastern medicine, the kidneys literally are in charge of, rule. I actually love these words that
Yeah.
they use.
Yeah.
Our essence, our
Right.
jing, our reproductive organs and system. So we don't necessarily talk about individual chemicals, I just said. The liver is known to be in charge of the free flow of your chi throughout your body.
Yeah.
That's why they say, like, when you're uptight and angry, you have liver chi stagnation, because your liver is the general of all of your organs. It's such a beautiful way
Love
of
it. I love
seeing
thinking
it.
about it that way.
Yes, and I invite everyone to have that visual, because it helps us, honestly, it helps us to be graceful with
But the
ourselves.
liver then is central to hormone metabolism and hormone
Everything.
balance.
See, I love this. This is my favorite.
And then the liver is also central to detoxification of
Yes.
environmental chemicals.
Yes.
So in the modern age, when we have liver assault,
Yes.
why are we surprised that we have hormone imbalances?
Yes. Well, that's what we're hoping to share with everyone.
Right.
Understand where it comes from to feel more in control. I don't always
Yeah.
use that word, of your own body, because oftentimes what I see is that people get, as totally understood, so scared when they hear these things because it's so foreign.
Right.
So yes, these things that we're saying are probably also foreign, but I find that if you can picture, the liver is the general. Like, so when you do things that upset the liver, wrong side. When they upset the liver, you're going to make the general
Right.
mad. Like,
Right.
I love thinking of it this way. It's so
Right.
simple, but like
Yeah.
we can remember this, drinking a lot, you know, detoxification, the purification of the liver,
Yeah.
the function of it. We're going to make it angry. When we get too the emotion, even emotions are tied to specific organ systems. The emotion anger is tied to the liver, which is very interesting because it goes both ways, right? So if you tend to be in general, maybe it's part of literally the way you've always been, your constitution, and you're always angry, it will actually affect your liver function. On the flip side, same. When your liver is off balance for all of the reasons, for
Right.
example, that we just
Right.
said, you will find yourself being more frustrated. Let's go to, the woman's time of the month.
Totally. Yep.
You're literally going into PMS. When
Yep.
you're PMSing, people know, like, oh, you get more uptight. What a cool thing to understand, for
Right.
lack of a better way of putting it. Oh, my liver is just, and to even know that releases you from, it's amazing how much just that letting go, again, the
Makes
very
a difference.
Taoist,
What
makes a
about
difference.
perimenopause and menopause? Let's revisit that
So,
for
okay,
just a
so I was
second.
going there. Okay, so going back, so kidneys are in charge of your essence reproduction, liver, because this exactly has to do with perimenopause and menopause. This free flow of chi. The ultimate goal is to always have function and flow within your body. That's the fountain of youth, beauty, wellness, longevity, mental, physical, spiritual. You want everything to flow. The second there's stagnation, there's imbalance, and there's sickness, illness basically ensues. Again, that's physically, mentally, and spiritually, right?
Yeah.
Also, let's stick to the kidney, that understanding.
Yep.
Let's stick to the liver, that understanding. The other organ system that's so important, especially in the Western world, is our digestive system,
Right.
our middle,
The gut. Good
the
old
gut.
Yep.
And so the spleen and stomach, I'm like giving all the detail,
Yeah.
are paired, because in Eastern medicine, all the organ systems are paired in yin yang pairs. I mean, it's so beautiful to me. I get so excited talking
I
about all
love
this,
it.
as you can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
So we won't go into every single one of them, right? But spleen and stomach pairs, yin and yang. Spleen is yin, right? Stomach is yang. So when you understand it this way, the stomach is in charge of the yang function, right? So remember, yang is the movement, the loud. It's the,
Yeah.
the masculine of it. It's the one that processes, literally takes in our food in Eastern medicine and breaks it down and processes it.
Yeah.
Well, the spleen, which is the yin organ, is the one that takes in all the nourishment. It takes in the chi.
So we have to nourish to build.
Yes, you need both, yin
Right.
and yang, right?
Right.
And so also, you even said cold plunge, so I'm going to connect
Yeah.
all the things.
Okay.
In general, women, right, it's very important that our reproductive system, our middle, in general for humans, men and women alike, you want your middle, your digestive system to stay warm. So in all of our ancient cultures, whether they talk about it as medicine or not, there's so many warming foods, right? So because that is what making the spleen happy. That's where the spleen takes all of the energy from the food. You're making it happy. So drinking ice water is a huge no-no in my house. You rarely see that. Nowadays it might be shifting, but in ancient cultures in Asia,
You don't drink ice
you
water.
do not drink ice
Right.
water, particularly when you're eating,
Right.
because you're just literally upsetting your stomach,
Yeah.
all the warmth that makes the chi. And so I want to get
And
this
you don't
point.
cold plunge.
How about this? It's not that you don't, but for a long time I've been, and now it's coming out, and people are speaking out about this a lot
Right.
more. In
Right.
general, for women, because remember, we're yin.
Right.
Yin by nature is more cold. Reproductive, a lot of the imbalances in your reproductive, so whether it's fertility, menstrual imbalances, menopause, extreme symptoms, a lot of it comes from cold in our culture.
Well, I get that. So I'll
Mhm.
do these meridian evaluations on patients when they come
Yes,
in,
love
and they're
that.
metal dominant.
Yes.
Metal is cold.
Yes.
Metal is hard. Metal
Yes.
is dry.
Yes.
So many women in menopause and perimenopause have a metal
Yes.
constitution and need warming. So I talk to them a lot
Yes.
about how can we warm you,
Huge.
So
Yes.
those are some of the things that, we'll bring into practicality, within our clinics. But I think the main take home point that I think both of us are trying to make is that understanding constitution and then building from there
Yes.
is a way to not chase wellness, but to
Yes.
personalize wellness to you,
Absolutely.
and then merging it with all the things that are out there.
Yes.
So that's how you differentiate between cold plunge or sauna or this
Right.
or that or
Exactly.
all these
And
different
actually, it'll
things.
become very enjoyable. What I love is at first it might feel overwhelming, but just taking it step by step, like
Yeah.
anything in life, for all three pillars,
Yeah.
mindset, movement, medicine,
Yep.
it actually becomes a very enjoyable and much less
Because you're in
stressful way of living.
alignment,
Yes,
right?
and you know what? The truth is, it really comes down to very simple things.
So if we're trying to write a wellness prescription, so to
Hmm.
speak, for ourselves, and we're
Yes,
using these three pillars,
right.
mindset, movement, what was the third one? Mindset, movement,
Medicine.
medicine.
Hmm.
What does that look like for somebody? Let's do it for someone who is yin. Let's do it for the average woman who
Hmm.
is yin, maybe average
Deficient. Let's say
yin,
yin
yeah,
deficient,
yin
because that's a lot of
deficient.
us.
What would a
Hmm.
prescription look like?
Okay, well, you know what? My constitution and the way I live my life with a lot on my plate, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't think of it that way, but it's the reality. Uh, I know that in my life, I want to be aware of not becoming indeficient. So let me walk through my day with the
Mm-hmm.
3 M's, okay? When I wake up in the morning, that is my favorite time to practice my movement and my mindset, right? So when I wake up, and the difference, one of the things I really love to share is it doesn't have to be so long.
Mm.
Like I'm very adamant about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to an event, a couple events coming up. Awesome. Longevity, beauty,
Yeah.
all the things.
Yeah.
And so when I teach, whether I'm teaching, the medicine pillar or the movement, I won't even do it for an hour. Like the movement, I keep it at 45 minutes. So often I'll do the qigong, the sound bath, acupressure treatments because I wish to share with people. We think we have to sit and meditate for hours at a time. So
No.
now we'll switch into the other pillars for a moment, right?
Okay.
No, it takes a couple of minutes. The way my father taught, his master taught him. That's like a very almost traditional martial artist way of
Yeah.
understanding is, and in general, if you can put your mind and your heart into something, be present for even 5 minutes. It can be better than an hour.
Mm.
And we have to understand it that way. We can reset our body very quickly. So in the morning, I give myself 15 minutes. That's the truth. I'll
That's
wake
what you're
up
doing.
early. Yes, sometimes if I have more time, awesome. Today I have to tell you I had
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And in full transparency, even this morning I was like, I just have to pack because I'm coming to LA for a
Right.
couple days and have
Right.
to like think of the outfits.
Yeah.
Whole thing.
Always
People
about
would
the
think I'm into
outfits.
this. I'm actually not into it at all. I'd wear the
Got
same
it.
outfit every time if it were up to me.
Gotcha.
So I had 5 minutes. I wanted to spend a little bit more time with my boys before they went to school, all the things. But I said to myself, Janelle, it's 5 minutes. What I love to do is if I can step outside in fresh air, the sun, all of the things for 5 minutes. And then I'll do my breath work. But what that looks like is I'll do my breath work, my Qigong techniques. I will wake up. I have my regimen, my ritual I like better of taking certain supplements that are balanced for my body, herbs and other things combined, right? I personally do not eat breakfast. Again, this is kind of the whole how I practice these and how we can look at it. I do intermittent fasting. I've done this for a long time, except for when I was pregnant. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think our ancient teachers called it intermittent fasting.
Right.
They just
Right.
did it.
Right.
It's the understanding of letting your digestive system rest for a set number of time, number of hours,
Right.
right? And so these are the ways that we can incorporate into our life. I wrote this book, 8 Keys of Living Meditation. Okay, which is Myeongsung, the Korean art of living meditation. There's 8 keys. Okay. In February, we're going to launch a new edition, paperback version.
Amazing.
I'm really looking forward to this beyond. One of the things I'm the most excited about is that the new title is called The Korean Art of Living Well, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing.
Right.
Right. And so, kind of in conclusion, the way we can incorporate all these pillars, those 8 keys are always in my life,
Gotcha.
you know,
So you are conscientiously bringing this
constantly.
in.
It's a guide,
Amazing.
it's a
And then so
lifestyle.
in your book, people will have a way of trying
Yes.
to bring that into their own lives.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about herbs for a second because
Okay.
they're a big part of Eastern
Yes.
medicine.
This is true.
Western medicine will sometimes say herbs are not medicine.
Yes, except for Western medicine definitely
It's
uses
based
all
on
of plant
herbs,
medicine.
but
But yes,
tell
okay.
us a little bit about
Love
the
it.
use of herbs and what is a proper use? What is where do people get in trouble? What is the historical kind of context of herbal medicine, from a Korean standpoint? Give us a
Yes.
sense of that.
Okay, so I know we don't have hours to discuss
Right.
this, but
Yeah.
so yes, when we think of herbs, we think of the individual ingredient, right?
Correct.
Plants,
Uh-huh.
botanicals, herbal ingredients, whatever we wish to
Right.
call it. Listen, I went to school and studied this. It is not easy to
Right.
memorize every
It's a whole
aspect. People
thing.
have no
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah.
And so that is a huge part of it. And I incorporate herbal ingredients into almost everything that I do.
Yeah.
Even the huge companies now, beauty
Yeah.
companies, you all know them,
Yeah.
will come
Yeah.
and want to integrate a lot of these ingredients always with purpose, because everyone recognizes we're
Right.
talking our ginsengs. And also for years ago, I entered into the world of adaptogens, which I still feel like has not hit the way I would
Mm-hmm.
imagine it to.
Mm-hmm.
But that principle of adaptogens helping us to adapt
Yeah.
This plant
Yeah.
medicine, these herbs help us to adapt. That's what that means.
Yeah.
And there's certain categories of these herbs that do that. Well, that's a principle of herbal medicine forever. Okay. So these are the main things I wish for people to know, because I can sit here and spit out a million herbs and
Right.
what they're good for.
Right.
But for example, our ginsengs, I mean, that's like the ultimate. Ren Shen. Ren is human.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the prized,
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Huang Qi, or astragalus.
Yes.
And we have
Love
Dangui,
astragalus.
which is
Love
Angelica
donkey. Yeah.
sinensis.
Yeah.
There's also another form. Okay,
Mhm.
goji berries,
Love goji
jujubes.
berries.
I mean, I can go on and on. I use that in skincare. I use that in internal formulas. Not always easy to use them in skincare. I haven't said this in a long time, because it's not always easy to have your largest organ, your skin, to absorb them in such a way. So here's where I want to go with answering you. People think of herbology, and they are not incorrect, as individual ingredients.
Correct.
But actually, what has been passed down in my lineage, true herbal medicine, is actually the synergy of those ingredients. It's how you put everything together, right? It's how Dui Yao is the pairing of herbs. So you can have an herbal ingredient that can do one thing, a powerful one, right? Korean ginseng, okay? It's known that one you have to be careful. This is answering also another question that we just think, oh, it's natural. No,
Right.
you can
Natural's better.
absolutely,
Yeah.
have an imbalanced reaction. That's the truth if you don't know what you're doing with
Right.
herbal, plant medicine, botanicals. But Korean ginseng is known to have so many benefits, but it is strong.
Yeah.
And some people should not have it. You have high blood pressure, for example, you better be careful. So understand what I'm saying here. That's an extreme version to make a point, but a true herbologist would know how to take that Korean ginseng, red ginseng, and let's say we want to use it for, sleep, for calming, for something that on its own it could not do. So many herbs are this way. You know how to combine it with another herb or other herbs in this beautiful recipe, and that's true herbal medicine. That is what I've taught for 20 plus years. That is what has been. So I told you I made a couple hero products.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
longevity potions. There's a
Yeah.
reason why I even call it that. I love what I do. I'm behind the scenes, but for people who don't know where to find them,
Right.
now I have some options.
Yeah.
You will see on there that I use bee bong formulas.
Okay.
Bee bong means secret formulas. That's what's been passed down in my lineage. So that's where I get go into my treasure chest, because I'm the guardian of that chest of formulas.
Yeah.
And that's the secret formula.
So it's formulas of herbs put
Yes.
together.
So I can put, of course, I'll put on the label. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a lab. We've been doing this forever. CGMP, FDA, registered, all the
Right,
things.
right.
So of course, what the herbs are. But what you don't know necessarily, unless this has been passed on and taught this way, is where that herb came from. Like truly, of course, we give those, that
Right.
testing and all of that as well. But what I'm talking about, a true herbologist, true herbology, for example, even finding a piece of ginseng root, right, in the mountains of Korea.
Yeah.
They say that there's certain people, they even choose to go and find the highest quality on that mountain. Like that is the reverence, that is the sacredness
Because of the
these-
energy?
because of the energy of
Yeah.
that, because that herb can literally heal you. And so the story goes, again, more of an intense, but I love this,
Yeah.
literally the farmers, or whatever they call them. I don't know what necessarily the name is that translates, but they'll go into the mountain. And if that person is not even a centered human being, they will not even find that root. And I'll let it be known, when you go to Asia, and we'll see more and more about this, you'll be walking down the streets of Hong Kong, for example, and you'll, to the naked eye, you might not know the difference. This ginseng will cost $50, ginseng root. And then you'll be holding another one that costs $500,000. You know what I mean? But it's because the energies of those ingredients. So that's the kind of thing
Wow.
that true herbal medicine, that's what that
It
entails.
dials into.
Yes. So it's okay. So now, just to sum everything up, how it applies to most of
Right,
us right now in
right.
modern world, how I create formulations, product development, all of that, is understanding that synergy of ingredients. Like I say, you can have the best ingredient in the world, but if your body can't absorb it and
So what do we
process
do?
it,
Like, how do we know, like, even for someone like me or for the consumer, right?
Yes.
Like, how do we know when I tell somebody to take ashwagandha, or when I tell somebody, like, I have a product that has astragalus in it that I swear by, it keeps us well.
love it. True.
How do we know where, like, how do we screen for this?
Yes. A lot of the herbs that you're talking about, as I mentioned, and I love this, I don't always get to talk about this,
Yeah.
belong to a certain category of herbs. They're like the highest category of herbs. I don't want to confuse people, but that category is known to be kind of like the elite herbs, if you will,
Okay.
because they are so powerful, but they don't they don't have a lot of bad side effects.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people can take them. That is all the ones oftentimes those are your adaptogens
Okay.
as well, categorized in that way. Why I want to say that is I don't want to scare people per se, because I know why you love this astragalus. That's like the number one chi herb,
Yeah. Yeah. I love faux tea.
ashwagandha, foti, the polygonum.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's a blood herb for
Yep.
circulation, particularly for women.
Yeah.
Again, beautiful in skincare.
Right.
So a lot of times when you take those individually, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Now, the truth is polygonum, foti, if you took too much of that, which is hard to do in the way that
We do it
it is
today.
offered
Right.
for, in whatever form.
Yeah.
But if you took too much of that, like say we did do it in the way that if you went to a Chinese medical doctor or herbologist, right, they give you the raw herbs and you cook it you make
Yeah.
it very concentrated,
Right.
which by the way, that's how we do it in our lab,
Right.
which I used to think everyone did. And I was like, no, Janelle, nobody does that.
No.
We
Yeah.
extract our own
Yeah.
ingredients basically. But that can become cloying, they say, and it can actually be stagnant in your body. So now all of a sudden you start to harm your digestion if you do not know how to use that herb properly. That's where we
Wow.
can go. But my point is, a lot of what is offered, going back to that, it's okay. It's more like food is the way I look at it.
Okay, so we have this massive industry
Yes.
with herbal supplements,
Yes.
products,
Mhm.
skincare, clean beauty,
Right?
non-toxic living.
Yes, of course.
Um,
Which I agree with.
a lot of us are fascinated or bringing some of these ingredients into our formulations. I personally am like I have
Yes.
Lush Locks that has amla and foti in it,
They're beautiful.
and B
Love it.
vitamins and so we've been doing this formulation. What's your thought on the industry and where we're going with all of this? And if we really want results for longevity, for beauty,
Mhm.
for energy, to replenish our chi,
Right?
like how do we navigate the space? It's so confusing.
Okay. Yes. And so I might be repeating, but
Yeah.
it's the best way to look at it
Yep.
is you have to you, Dr. Taz, what you create, you have been doing this for 20 plus years
Yeah.
clinically, like with people.
With people.
Maybe I'm not in a clinic, but I have
Right.
been doing this with people.
Right. Right.
No, and for me, yes, for
Right.
centuries in my, my lineage
Right.
who have been taking these things. And so that matters. So look at, again, who are you getting this from? Who is this company? Where is the ingredient from? Do they, basically make their products in a lab, particularly when it comes to supplements, anything internal, that it has all of that. Now things are becoming much more strict, thank goodness. Like literally the government is looking
Right.
into more
Right.
things as they should.
Yeah.
And that's going to knock a lot of people out.
Yeah.
We were never concerned. We were all for this because we've been doing it no other way
Right
for
way. Right.
decades,
Right.
That's a good way of understanding it. But yes, I would be the first to say, don't just go and try every single thing because it was a cool trend.
Right.
That is not how it works.
Yeah.
And also remember that for digestion, even in my own family, we don't just take a million things every single day. That's not necessarily good
It's
for
not
you.
good for the belly or
No, at all.
the liver, the general.
The
It's not
liver,
good-
the general,
yeah.
and digestion, which
Right.
you also said, it can
Right.
you can throw your digestion off. Which, by the way, you do that, and nothing's going to work.
Right.
That's the way to
Absolutely.
look at it. So I know that this is not such specific ways of answering, but I'm not going to necessarily knock anything in particular because we'd be here all day because
Right.
there's so much. But do find the companies who really know what they're doing, who has formulators, and at this point, I'm thinking of the ones that I know, of course,
Mhm.
very well. They make that very clear.
Like
What
how
is-
they formulate.
how they formulate,
the
where they
sourcing is
formulate.
from.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, once again, we have been, and I always thought that this is the way, but it's coming a lot to my attention. No, Janelle, this is not the way that our lab, we have always produced everything from the moment, from concept to finished product in California.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of these products do come from elsewhere, and you don't know,
How
how
to
they do
navigate
everything.
that.
Again, that's shifting right now, thank goodness.
And what's
So-
your opinion in general on sort of the non-toxic clean beauty? I know you've been doing
Oh,
clean
gosh.
beauty for a
Yes.
long period of
Yes, I'm
time.
huge
so
on this. And maybe I'll explain it a little different than
Yeah.
what people hear. And it's my favorite way of thinking of it. It goes like this. Our body is miraculous, as we all know. Like actually, we are, look at us. Even I talked to my boys about this. I was like, first of all, do you understand that I made you in my stomach? There's a lot more. Like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's also a whole funny other conversation. But our bodies are miraculous. Like they know what to do. Our bodies know what to do, right? The thing is that every single moment we are walking through so much,
Mhm.
even when we're sleeping, from the air that we're breathing, bacteria, viruses, toxins, pollution, radiation.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of it that way, it can be incredibly overwhelming and
Right.
stressful. So, of course, we have to take care of ourselves. So, why have I been about natural products? Clean beauty didn't even exist. Now, of course, clean beauty. Why have I always been on the forefront fighting for this my own self with amazing people like yourself? I like to think of it as our bodies are working so hard all of the time. And the same thing goes for the movement and the mindset pillar. Our minds, all that. That's why I say stop making everything so hard and complicated all the time. Meaning, you keep putting chemicals, preservatives, toxic substances onto your body, into your body. You're just making it harder for your body.
Yeah.
Period. It's your choice. And everything in balance. Seriously.
Yeah.
Do my kids have, Takis? I'm like, I shouldn't even be saying this brand. I said it. I don't know that's allowed. It's like a whole movement. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
There's other alternatives.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, yes. Because everything in balance. But
what are like 3 as a formulator? What are 3 ingredients that you would warn us to stay away from that are used commonly in beauty
well, it's like
and
my favorite
skincare?
in general, your silicones, your like very harsh preservatives. I can name all the things, but I always want to be careful because on both ends, if you start saying, for example, some of our natural alternatives, you'll turn on social media and then they'll start saying that that's a horrible one. You're like,
Yeah.
well, okay, that's fine. But what you
Right.
don't understand is actually how much do you have to take? I'm going to say it different, but like how much do you have to use of that for it to be
For it to
toxic?
be a
And also, do
problem.
you even understand that like those are the options right now and they're
Right.
very important? Otherwise, you're going to be walking around with a product with mold and, bacteria. And so not necessarily calling things out per se, but in general, any kind of artificial colors,
Okay. That's
artificial
the easy one.
fragrances, it's
Okay.
easy, but it is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, and it's ones that people can recognize,
Mhm.
right? So when you see the word perfume or fragrance, it's not so great for you. Like literally that's chemicals.
So in
Almost
beauty
always.
and in skincare.
Yeah. Artificial colors, your parabens, your silicones, all of this, and that's used in many products. And
Yeah.
again, to your discretion. And there's a level of, what can be a little bit more balanced. If you want to use a product that you love that has some silicones in it, that's to your discretion. Do I? No, not necessarily ever, because I know that that's going to actually not help my cells to rejuvenate and be vital and all of the things. That's the thing, right? So everything in balance, there are some things that are much more dangerous or will impede our condition more than others. But again, my favorite thing is the more we put onto and into our body that is clean or natural, not toxic for us, the happier our body's going to be.
Right.
And then the happier you are.
What's
period.
I'm so curious. What's the
Yes.
number one Korean beauty skincare secret that nobody knows?
I like that. Okay, the way I would say this, because there can be so many specific things, and I can make it more fun if you
Right.
want me to do that. But the number one thing is function and flow. So the ingredients that you use, again, that goes to actually
Yeah.
answering what the other question, why not
Right.
use chemicals and toxins? You have to always think of your body as making all of your organ systems, including your skin, function and flow. So for me, that's herbs that create astragalus, a huge chi building, angelica, blood building, like putting in any kinds of ingredients that really help that rejuvenation of the function and flow. Okay, so that's kind of a boring answer. I know you want more than that. So in Korean beauty in particular.
Well, for example, I just had a friend come back from
Mhm,
Korea and she said they live and breathe beauty
Yes.
from the time they're little.
Yes.
What are they doing that we're not doing?
We're extreme
Yeah.
in Korea.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, beauty is important. And
Yeah.
then guess what? It is
Yeah,
important.
it sounds like it's like
we never
bred
forget.
into the like.
Yes,
you
and
know,
but I'm certain I don't live there.
Right.
But what I have been taught, and I'm very traditional in nature, in my culture, is you know what? Here's my answer. Okay, I knew I had to get there, but I wanted to be very authentic. Do not just think of it, and they may not say this, whoever they are. I don't know who they are, but you get what I'm saying. True beauty truly does come from all 3 of those pillars. I'm not messing around. This is not something I created myself. I might call them the 3 M's. I don't think my ancient ancestor teachers were running around being like, well, the 3 M's and the 3
Yeah.
pillars. No, but beauty really does come from our mindset, how we think, how we feel, how much we're able to balance stress. That's a Korean
You
beauty
can't
secret as far as I'm.
formulate something.
Sorry,
for
it's
us?
not that easy.
Okay,
That's
got it.
exactly what the modern world would like. Maybe, I don't know, I'm
Just
working
give
on
me
it.
the formula.
I am, Dr. Taz. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Movement.
Yeah.
When we feel stressed, taking 5 minutes to breathe into our stomach, exhale from our abdomen, grounding ourselves, literally feeling our energy be grounded so that we can move forward without as much stress. Stress is the number one,
That's the number one.
right? And then, yes, what we put onto our body. So I am not kidding. That is my answer. And I'm not just saying this. I really wish for everyone to understand. You can use all of the products you want. I make those products. I want you to use the products. I want you to eat properly. I want you to take the supplements. But let it be known, if you do not train your mind, if you do not teach yourself constantly how to balance with stress, how to find joy in life, how to communicate properly, you will never find beauty. That's my answer.
Whole different definition of beauty,
Yes.
for sure.
So
All right,
Korean or not.
This may be the same answer, and you can just say
Yes.
same answer.
Oh, I have no
but
problem doing that.
number one longevity, I hate to use the word hack, but number
Yes.
one longevity rule
Yes.
in oriental medicine.
You're right. It's the same answer. Let me tell you, right before biohacking, I heard this. I mean, I've talked about longevity. That's what all of this is. I'll never forget. I don't even know if I should be sharing this, but I called my team, my publicist in particular, and I was getting something frustrated me, which is very difficult to do.
Right.
I really don't get stressed very
Right.
easily. And I saw something and I was like, enough, because I care. It's like, enough. Just call everyone, because here's the thing. What I talked about was Taoist immortals. And so I'll remind everyone, they were the original biohackers.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Literally the Taoist immortals. These are the people that I speak of when I say 10,000 years ago. That's what you can look it up. Now you can read about
Right.
them. The most beautiful thing is when you go to read what their secrets were, what they did. And by the way, what I like to say is, here we are wishing to have longevity, to be beautiful for however long, to live healthy lives and be active. Do we understand what immortal means? It means you never die. Okay.
Mhm.
So these people were not even interested in trying to find longevity hacks.
Right.
They were interested in never dying.
Wow.
And you know what? For all we know, they could still be in the mountains of East Asia.
Oh
For
my
all I know.
gosh.
It blows
Yeah,
your mind. It
yeah.
might be crazy, but I think about that sometimes. And they did exactly these 3 M's. They practiced Qigong. They went into the mountains and found, like my father, literally my own father. I live here in California. I have my own children. So it's not that far
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
right? He was in the mountains of East Asia looking for food, finding herbs in the mountain with his master.
Mm.
I say stress is different. And he would actually even say at times he was the best, and he had a great sense of humor as well. But, there were times where he would say, we don't have to worry about getting eaten by a tiger. I mean, I think that's a whole other stress,
Yeah.
or literally not having food, or if you're sick, finding an herb to be able to heal yourself, because you can't just go to the doctor.
Wow.
However, the stress in modern day, my father at times were like, take me back to that mountain. I would rather any day try to watch out. Now, he would never speak that way, but
Right.
it was it's an interesting perspective. But
Yeah.
point being, longevity, the hacks, not hacks, it's the way of living, period, are the movement aspect, breathing properly, as a medicine of rebalancing our mind, no different than our body. The medicine that's been handed down and everything that we put into our body, food, how we consistently wish to understand ourselves and how we go about that, and the mindset, constantly watching how we think, checking ourselves. I suppose I'll end on this whole conversation I've enjoyed so much, and it's been a little intense, but that's us. I
it's
love
fun.
it. So hopefully
Yeah.
it gets in people's
Yeah.
minds.
Yeah.
But, there's something that I have been thinking about a lot lately and sharing. And so I want to put out all the positive energy, and I don't always speak that way when I say this, but something that is very important, and it stems back to, it's been 9 years, but I think about when I lost my father.
Mm.
He was as healthy as can be, right? And so it was his time. That's a whole other conversation, but it happened in an instant, and I was with him. And so that is a whole other, like I said, conversation. But in the last year, again, I think I was on a podcast in an interview, and they asked me some kind of question about what I learned from that, what gift. They posed it in a way I've never heard. And again, I heard myself say in a moment when I just let go and answered, it was the greatest gift he ever gave me. Also, the most horrific thing I've ever walked through, let's be clear, because I have chosen that in honor of him, in honor of my own life, in honor of everyone that I love and I'm connected to, everything that I do, we must never forget that literally we may not be here tomorrow.
Mm.
And when you start to think of it that way, and it's more, to me, that's even more like mentally, relationship, community, when we get in arguments, what's important to us, all the points we wish to. In Korean, key number 3, we call it dochi. Stop being drunk on your own thoughts.
Mm.
Because actually the most dangerous thing, we think it's all these things. We think it's the chemicals and the preservative. Yes,
Right.
100%. The most dangerous thing, the way that the ancient teachers, the Taoist immortals would teach us, is actually it's our own mind. right? It's our own thoughts.
Don't
So if
get
we
drunk on your own
don't get
thoughts.
dochi. Key number 3, stop being drunk on your own thoughts, because it closes us off from everything. Constantly be open. Constantly, and it's a constant training. As a human being, you'll never just master this. Well, understand what I mean. It's constant, because by nature we are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, when we think of life that way, particularly because that is beauty and longevity, and we really remember that tomorrow we might not be here, when it comes to all the stressors that are the hardest to overcome, right? Work, parenting, relationships, that's harder than changing, what you're eating that day.
Right.
Let's be
Right.
clear. And that very much is our longevity and beauty. If we think of life that way, things shift. If I'm not here tomorrow, does that really
Doesn't
matter?
matter.
It's a very interesting way of training our mind that I'm on a mission to, for as long as it feels correct, share, because it does. It changes
I
your
would
mind.
say it's
Or when it comes to eating. I'm sorry, Dr. Taz, I don't want to it's
no.
hard to change. It's hard to, you have to train to make good habits,
Yeah.
right? Mindset.
Yeah.
It's up to you. No one can do this for you. I wish I could, but I cannot. I tell my own children this.
Yeah.
I literally put you into this life, and I cannot actually make you do anything.
Who's going to carry on and be the 10th generation?
I love that. I'll be in the car and they'll get in arguments, which I love. Like, no, I'm going to do the lab. I'm going to do the martial arts. I'm going to do the book. I'm like, why can't you all do all of it? But you know what, Dr. Taz? I don't know. It's so funny because this just came up for the first time. But isn't that the way the universe works? I don't know. And isn't that funny? I wish for it to be one of my boys. Do I think there's a great possibility? You better believe it.
Yeah.
I have nieces, and who's to say? Because as much as family is the closest and we all connect in all of this, who is to say?
What's next?
And it's not up to me. In many ways, the way I truly look at it, it is, but it isn't. It will come. Like that, when it's the sacred things like that in my life, I don't use my brain.
What do you see moving forward for traditional oriental medicine, for Eastern medicine?
Oh, I am so
what are
happy.
you seeing?
Yeah, it's going to do exactly what it's doing. In the sense of, that's why I'm so grateful for you and our connection, and I'm sure we will collaborate in many ways. I hope so.
Yeah.
Is that integration, that word? It is happening. It took a while, and then it happened. It seems like it's happening very fast, and I couldn't, because we need it, right? So what I see is that more and more, it's going to come out. And again, I believe it's my job. I won't put this on anyone else. I have the duty of doing my very best to help people balance it, because that's the key.
And navigate it.
Right. Equals same.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because that's going to be the most important thing. And be discerning of who you're listening to, who you're learning from. Be open, always. But all these things are very important, especially in these times. But yeah, I couldn't be more grateful that it's all there now.
So interesting.
Yes.
All right. So your book.
Yes.
I'm going to let you say that so I don't butcher it.
Well, I know that's one of the reasons I'm excited for the new version.
So
it's Myung-sung.
Myung-sung.
The Korean Art of Living Meditation.
Okay. And the new book
is The Korean Art of Living Well. Oh,
amazing.
So much easier. Look at that.
Yeah,
so it's with Penguin around the house. You can find it anywhere books are sold. Of course,
Incredible.
Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Incredible. And if anyone wants to connect with you, where's the best place for them to do
My
that?
website, JenelleKim.com. On social media, I'm most engaged on Instagram, but in all places. I have my own podcast, which I can't wait to have you on.
Yes.
The Experts. And it does everything. The intention behind this is if I needed another job. But I could not be happier on the other side.
Right.
Is really finding the experts to take away the overwhelm.
And bringing that teaching aspect to it.
And then finally, I'm really excited because you'll find this in all the places. The website, you can sign up and basically be on a wait list right now. We're trying to move fast. I am finally going to create the community, the ENSO, which is the ENSO circle, right? From nothing comes everything, the Tao. And that's a place that everyone can go for all of these things. We're consolidating it.
I love it.
I'm only one person, unfortunately.
All right, last question, but maybe the most important. What makes you whole?
Oh, what makes me whole? I always the first thing that comes to my mind, because of course when I think what makes me whole, it's my boys, it's my family, it's my people, it's that connection. But the first thing that came to me when you asked me that, Dr. Taz, what makes me whole, is sharing all of this, doing my duty, my mission.
Your mission. Your soul's purpose.
Yes.
I love it.
It makes me want to cry.
Which is
odd.
Incredible.
Yes.
I am so honored to know you and meet you. I know we're going to continue to collaborate.
Yes.
Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be on the show.
Oh,
and for everybody else watching and listening, we did go deep into traditional oriental medicine. We do want you to understand your constitution and ideas around energy. But more importantly, I think the main idea, actually, I love this. Don't get drunk on your thoughts.
Yes.
And secondly, really personalize your wellness and health information and routines and journey to you. You are more unique than anybody else out there. It's not a one size fits all.
Yes.
So thank you for watching and listening to this episode of Whole Plus, and I will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taz.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Whole Plus. Be sure to share this episode with your friends and family. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. To engage with the community, follow @LiveWholePlus and check out our website, wholeplus.co. That's HOLPLUS.co for more resources and information on holistic health. See you next time.